We're very lucky here. OneNote, Microsoft Forms, teaching for mastering, which I'll be talking about today, and flipped learning, because I enjoy that. I was going to put Liverpool Football Club up here because Kolber finally, the penny dropped what Anfield 74 means. Anfield is the home of Liverpool, and 74 was the first time I ever saw them play football. So that seemed, at the time, you know all those old Hotmail email addresses you had when you were 30 years older, younger? I want to talk about mastery learning with academic care, the focus on academic care. It was something that was an unintended outcome of something I did 2 years ago when I stopped teaching the way I taught. I'm a maths teacher, so I'm boring. I try and sell something that no one wants to buy, but they have to, okay, by law, okay? So it's a great job. I just grew dissatisfied with the conveyor belt approach. I've taught it, they've learnt it, move on, okay? Time is everything to me. I've got to cut through a syllabus, I've got to make it. And I started talking about the wellness of the student. Anxiety, the tears at home, I can't do my homework, da-da-da-da-da. Maths, we got a bad rap, we hate maths. We don't like maths. Fear of failure, low risk taking. Come on girls, what do you think? And that's the response. Okay, and then Jon yawns, and I go, Jon, you yawn, so you're going to answer this one. And Jon collapses in a heap. Okay, so that was where it came from. So I started thinking about that. I mean, I'm now of the belief that, you know, just because I've taught it doesn't mean they've learnt it. Okay, there could be a multitude of factors going on. The goals when I started were, I wanted to, obviously, the first one was to improve their understanding. To be honest, to be brutally honest, that was my goal. That was an unintended outcome. That happened throughout the year because of the approach I took. This was, I'd love to be able to be proud of this and say I intended this to happen, but I wrote about this saying intended, unintended outcomes of using a mastery approach. I firmly believe in this. And it differs for subjects. In my subject of maths, because of the hierarchical chain, links, I strongly believe in this one. Creativity follows mastery. My students need to master their domain-specific knowledge. I can't have an argument with you about something if you're not informed on it. So yeah, you need to have your basic building blocks. Maths is a little different. It's a technical subject, you know. Boom, boom, boom. Solve that two-step equation. Boom, 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 boom. It's a procedure. So I work on that one, and that gets a little bit out of step with some people. Just to give a little bit more of what my take on a mastery model is, that's the two sigma problem Jon was referring to with Bloom's work. Okay, the mastery's been around since 1915 with Carlton Washburn, but Bloom codified it, and then Gusky took it a little bit further, and McCourt wrote his book this year. And they basically said there's the 6 key elements of mastery models, and I reckon everybody in this room does this. Okay, you look at us. You know, if you're on your teaching, you check, you pre-check. Okay, high quality group-based initial instructions, progress, formal assessment, corrective instruction, second assessment, and then enrichment extension. Okay, it sounds pretty heavy duty, but and it was for the first 6 months. All I wanted to do in the first 6 months was go back to the way I taught with my little whiteboard and sit there and listen to Uncle Steve tell you about quadratics. This was hard, so I had to be sold on why. And I had a pivotal moment as teachers. We rarely have the opportunities. I was sitting there, depths of despair, not enjoying myself, working, you know, and thinking, is this good or bad, ugly? 5 girls were walking in the classroom, and I was sitting there, I said, girls, and they went, what? And I said, is this working? And they went, oh yeah, this is good. This is good. And I said, what's good? We're talking to you. Okay? So, boom, through there. Now, academic care was something that we have a very strong pastoral care program at our school. I'm not a real warm, fuzzy sort of person, you know, I'm tough enough, come on, get over yourself, move on. So I needed help to be pastoral. And then somebody talked to me about academic care. Well, that tweaked my fancy, that got me interested. And it is delivered through the way I teach now with the way I get around, and I have the conversation with my girls. I talk to them a lot more. And the offshoot, the accidental, the unintended outcomes that came out from the girls was it did promote their knowledge of self, their self-efficacy. They started having healthy risk-taking. I had to put that word in. Okay, it was risk-taking. It was healthy risk-taking. Negotiation, reflection, empowerment. Because one of the things that I discovered was the girls that self-explained and also self-corrected, that improved their learning uptake as well. Okay, and I could work my way through that. I'll talk a bit more because the 3 things, I've had to write the 3 key things down. The 3 key changes that I found impacted by taking a mastery approach to learning was my relationships with the girls. Now we talk about relationships, and I've had, I think, a pretty comfortable relationship with all my students for the past 33 years of teaching, okay? This took it to another level. I actually did know my students, and I did know, like, to the point where, Michael, I know you're not going to do your homework tonight because you've got dancing on till 11 o'clock. You're going to come home from dancing, you're going to grab a toasted sandwich, have a shower, go to bed. Okay, so, boom, I understand when you're going to come in the next day and you're not going to have completed that task. That's cool, that's fine, Michael. But I also got to know them a lot better because I was having the only authentic conversation I was having with them when I was sitting down or kneeling down beside them. When I heard their voice explaining their understanding of the concept we're talking about, it wasn't the tutor, it wasn't mum, it wasn't dad, it wasn't the big brother or big sister. And it was then that I could actually pinpoint and nail down what the misconceptions were, what the barriers to the learning were. And that was superb. And that had, I call it a virtuous cycle. That improved their performance, that improved their engagement, that improved their motivation, which Craig Barton talks about as huge, their motivation. Because all of this is wonderful, but if there's no effort coming in, it's pointless. The students still, learning's still hard, as you know, John's told us 1,000 times. So we need effort from the kiddies. And to wrap up really quickly, metacognition improved, greater understanding of what the kids knew and didn't know because of those conversations being around. And people say, well, where does the flipped learning fit in? Well, it bought me the time in class, because we're always time poor. That's where the flipped learning really supports my mastery model. Okay, because I could come in, as we did today, so right, saw that last night, boom, you guys take off, you're flying. You 5, come with me, right, we're going to have a chat. Okay, and then I could break them away and then I could start moving around the room. And this is something that I was really, really relieved to find, as well as very happy to find. Gusky talked about, the fact that mastery learning just doesn't impact on the cognitive or academic performance, but that's your academic care coming into it as well. Okay, strengthen relationships, you know your students better. You know what they do and do not know and why they do not and do not know that. Okay, so that is